Hi, this is Tracy with Chasing Butterflies, and we are doing a Mother's Day special. I think I've told people that. And I'm here with my longtime friend, Terry Lynn Crowley, and we are going to be talking about her beautiful mother and what her life was like and what a great mom she was.
Yes, absolutely.
So, where'd your mom grow up?
She was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. She was born in 1939.
Yeah, my mom too.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she would have been 86, right?
No.
In November?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And what was her childhood like?
So, I feel like my mom has a pretty interesting and tragic, but yet super, super loving story because her parents died when she was really young. Her mom committed suicide when she was around 7, and then her dad died of heart issues when she was around 12. So really tragic, and luckily she was able to be raised by her grandmother, which we come from a really big Polish family. Everybody was in Delaware, and so all of her mother's brothers and sister were basically like, instead of being her aunt and uncles, they were sort of like her siblings. So she, even though with all that like tragedy of that stuff happening young, she did grow up in a really, really loving community, household.
Lots of grandparents and
Yeah.
Yes. Now, did her mom suffer from mental illness or?
Obviously.
I mean.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's an accident.
Yeah, no.
You know.
Unfortunately, my mom really never wanted to talk about this, and so we really never ever.
She don't know
got
a lot.
Into the details about it. Yeah. Although I do know that she hung herself, and my mom's grandmother, her mother, found her, and so I'm sure she had mental illness, which then pushed my mom's grandmother into like a mental breakdown because her child killed herself and she found her. And so my mom was one of 3. She had a sister and a brother, and my mom stayed with her grandparents and the family, and then my aunt and my uncle got kind of shipped off to other Polish people in the close family, people like that.
Yeah.
Not shipped off. It was in Wilmington, Delaware, also. But they didn't live. They didn't live in the house with her growing up.
Yeah. Do you think? Did she ever say, "I had a happy childhood"? Though after all that,
she always said she was very happy.
Because she always seemed so happy.
Yeah, that's why I really, when I think back, and I think, I know the little things that I complain about and feel sorry for myself about.
She overcame.
She really did. She never, ever complained about her childhood. She never said, "Oh, poor me."
Yeah. No,
ever. But then I think that's what also made it so difficult, like when she died, because she always wanted so much like family type things with her life.
Yeah.
And I feel like she really deserved that, and then it got cut short.
Yeah. When did she meet your dad?
She met my dad in the 50s.
How old was she? Yeah.
She was probably maybe 20, maybe even younger than that. It's so interesting that you asked me that, because I've been digging through things, and I just found something that had like a little dance that they went to, and it had the date on it, and it could have been 1958 maybe. 1958.
And how long did they date before they got married?
I don't know. They had, there was a little small issue there, but he had a child that he had when he was like 16. Back in the 50s.
Yeah.
And my mom was very Catholic and wanted to get married in the Catholic Church, and I don't think the church was giving the blessing. And so there was a lot of delay with all of that. And so they actually got married twice. They got married once at I guess, do you call it civil service?
Yeah.
And then after my dad went through all the red tape that the Catholic Church likes to put people through.
My mom went through that too.
Yeah.
With my dad, because my dad was like your mom.
Yeah. Then they got married in the church.
Yeah.
But so luckily, he did tell my mom then, that he had a baby, even though the baby wasn't anywhere around, because when the baby reappeared in the 90s, at least my mom knew about it.
Or maybe
wasn't a surprise.
80s, late 80s maybe. Because Chase was around.
Yeah. So they were cute, but yeah, she just we lived in Delaware, and then when I was a sophomore in high school, the Amoco plant blew up, and my mom had always just lived around family, and we had a big family, and not like sibling wise, but we had lots of aunts, uncles, cousins, and we did everything with them all the time. And so when my dad we had to move to Texas, that was, I feel like, another tragedy.
Traumatic.
Yeah.
Because I heard about it for you for years.
Yeah. I'm still scarred, but I'm so glad to be here.
You wouldn't know me.
No, I was meant to be in Texas, but I do love Delaware.
Yeah. Well, that's where your family is.
Yeah.
And to me, they're like an extension of you and Ricky, especially now that your parents are gone.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to keep that connection because, they are your family. And being that distant, miles wise, I just think it's important because y'all need them.
Yeah, we do. And we're so close. And I'm actually going to meet some of my cousins this weekend, Delaware cousins.
In New York?
Yeah, we're going to New York, taking my niece, Darby.
That'll be fun.
She's never been, and so some of my cousins are going to drive up, and we're going to spend the day. So, yeah, we are close, and tons. I've got girls and guys, and I'm getting emotional thinking about them.
I know.
So I love all of them.
We'll have a cousins episode too.
Yeah, we should have a cousins episode. Okay.
We'll do it Zoom with them. So let's talk a little bit about. Let me just start off by I loved her mom. She was like another mom to me and was like a grandma to my Chase. And it meant the world to me because in a time back then when you're a single mom, and even though, I was married for about 5 minutes back then, didn't really count.
Thank God.
She accepted me for everything, I had him when I was 20 and we were already friends, that she was welcoming to me and included me in everything, and it meant the world. Both your parents, but, because she was the motherly,
Yeah.
She watched him for us when we were, being a little wild.
Yeah.
She just said, as long as you get him to bed. So we had to get him to bed and then we could go out. But anyway, I'm very grateful for that because there were other moms, maybe not my close friend, but they were kind of judgmental of me and my situation. And, I didn't know any different. So I was like, this is my kid. I loved him. And,
he was so much fun. And
I
think she just loved having him around. She did. It brought so much joy into our house and things, like I said,
that's what kids do. They're just so joyful.
Like I said, growing up with our family, having all the cousins and everything, we just always thought life was always going to be like that. You don't think about a surprise move that's going to take you away from everything and all your family. So as I was making friends, and then you have Chase and stuff, and it was just bringing a lot of joy and movement and all that really great stuff that comes along with family, right? And it was we created that in Texas when we moved here. My brother met a great group of people, the Maters, and so we really just kind of we created all of that to try to have Delaware in Texas. So, and that is where I think, like with my mom passing away, we all are sad when we have people that pass away, and especially if it's too soon, but we had so many plans. Just normal plans that people don't really think about, just family stuff. We were wanting to recreate Delaware, but in Texas. We had to start all over. And then when, she died and we didn't get that opportunity, it's just, I really didn't know I was like, now what do I do? Even though I'm so lucky, all the girlfriends that I have and the relationships we have and the relationships I have with all your families and stuff. Oh man, it's just
feels good.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk a little bit how y'all found out your mom was sick.
Wow. Okay, so it was, she wasn't feeling well for a long time, but
What year was this? When she got
probably around 1997.
sick? Okay.
And so, it's so weird to say times were so different then, but they really were.
They were.
They really were different then. And she was still going back to Delaware. So that was another thing. Her uncles were doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and she never had been to like a doctor outside of doctors she knew all her life. Mm-hmm. So she was still going to Delaware for her yearly checkups and everything. She wasn't going here.
Right.
And I don't really know why, she skipped a pap smear or two, but she just did. And as she started getting sick, I think she was ignoring it. And, she was really good about not complaining, which I don't know what happened to me, but...
You got that from your dad.
And so we were actually at Thea's house on a Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. And as we were driving home and we had to pull over. And we pulled into the, Texas Southern University that's like on 59. I think we kind of pulled in somewhere around, or it could have been, it was some kind of business. And I don't really remember what was wrong with her, why she was sick, or what was happening at that moment. But I remember a cop pulled over to see if we had been drinking, because it was pretty late Christmas Eve, coming from Thea's. Yeah. I'm sure we all were drinking, but my mother. And then that's when the journey of discovering she had cancer started. Mm-hmm. And it took a while to figure things out because it wasn't like textbook stuff. And then by the time they figured it all out, she had something so simple as cervical cancer that had metastasized. And so I very angrily constantly blame her not getting her pap smear. Yeah. If she would have just gotten her pap smear when she was supposed to.
And this is I think we know better now. And it's even on TV all the time, like, get your checkups, get this. I don't really remember, and maybe, it's just because I was young and dumb, but I don't really remember people making such a big deal out of it in the 90s. Maybe in the 2000s mm-hmm. or something? I don't know. So in a way, I don't know, maybe that she didn't realize the importance of it. Maybe,
right, true. Right, and just like you said.
I'm always going to defend her. So.
Where it's just times are so different now. Yeah. It's just things are just so different. Everything's so about our medical, getting checkups. We're all just
being healthy.
Yeah, being healthy is a whole lot different. More of an important thing in everybody's life.
Most people, yeah.
Or we talk about it more.
Well, and I'm not going to tell you where I was yesterday. I was at someone's house, and I was looking at all the processed foods sitting on their counter, and I was just like, wow. And I asked that person, who eats all this? And they named the person. And I was like, that's really not that good for you. Right. Just in doses, like we just had a great time in Austin this weekend. We ate bad. We did all that. But we don't do that like on a daily basis where you just eat a bunch of processed food all the time. And so I just, like my kids, well, especially my daughter, she eats very healthy. She gets onto us. Like if I make cookies, that I like have one or two every one, she like gets on. You don't need to be making cookies. Yeah.
Well, if you do make them, you have them. They're here.
Yeah, but I'm the one that can control that though. Whereas like some people are like, no, if they're in my house, I'll eat the whole box. I'm like, no, I'm not like that. I'll have like one or two a few days a week. And I'm like, okay, everything in moderation. Yeah. I try to tell myself that. But
well, we all try.
And, just making, I don't buy a lot of bread, but when I do, I try to make it has the least amount of ingredient because, I don't know, we're not on a health thing here. But I'm just saying, that's just...
Another time.
Yeah, another time. But anyway, so from diagnosis, that was a couple
It was
years.
A long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get diagnosed, and then we discovered, so she had to have a bunch of chemo, and I do know a lot of people that are dealing with cancer and chemo, and that maybe chemo was different then too because it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was like
she's so sick.
So sick. She was so sick, and it was really horrible. So we had chemo. I don't know how many, rounds, can't remember, but it was a long time. And then she finally got finished with her regimen of all that, and I don't know how long that was, and we're trying to give her a break, and then it had metastasized into like her neck area. So then she had to have radiation all around her neck, and it was literally sizzling her whole head and face. She was so tan, which she loved being tan. She thought it looked so good, but we all thought you looked like a fried piece of bacon. I mean, she was sizzled, neck and everything, but she was so tan. And I think she kind of felt good actually at that point. I think the chemo had sort of finally gotten out of her body, but then when she was doing all that and, just always a trooper, and somehow in and out of the hospital years, we went through all this kind of stuff. And then I think she got rid of that. And then it came back. And then when it came back, they had discovered it was in her lymph nodes and everything. And that was the last. But
did it go into her liver?
no, it didn't go into her liver,
okay.
but she did what
can't
ended
remember.
up being the week that she died. She was having multi-organ failure.
Yeah.
Her organs were just all giving out because
Well, sometimes
so
the
much.
treatment's worse than the cancer.
Yeah.
But it prolonged my father-in-law's life 14 years.
Wow.
So, and even though, and he still did live to be, I think, 82, which is still longer than your mom, which was what, 60?
61.
61?
Well, she turned 61 and then died 2 days later.
Yeah. So that's definitely a life cut short.
Yeah, especially like it's right around the corner for us. And that's what I really think about a lot. I'm just like, we didn't think about, I mean, I knew she was young then, right? I knew she was just too young to die.
Yeah.
But as I'm getting older, I'm just like.
And we seem so much younger than our parents
Yeah.
did at that time. I don't know if we are, like physically, but mentally.
Mentally we are.
We're different. Well, yeah, we're about 21.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Or we acted.
Yeah.
So, but my brothers, I think when they were coming up on the age that my dad was 39, when they were coming up on that age, because no male in his family lived to be 40. I'm sure they were going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I
And
know
they're,
I do it.
Robbie's, I don't know how he is, 66. Russell's almost 65. Mark's 60-something. I'd have to sit and do the math, and we don't have time for that. But anyway, I'm very thankful that, they get to be a part of this getting old thing.
Yeah.
It's good. Like, as we know, it's a gift, and not everybody gets to do it.
That's right.
So,
So anyway, I'm just going to cut back to, like, I've really, 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 really come a long way,
Oh, yeah.
And I know some people might not understand, like, her, everybody, like.
Everybody's different,
right,
too.
and this, like your podcast has proven, it doesn't really matter, who it is in your life, you're affected.
Yeah.
Our whole, our
For
family
sure.
was really affected. Our main person was gone, so we had to figure the
was
whole
like
thing out.
the queen of the family, and
Yeah, well, and everything, like, she just literally, people that were her friends, everybody thought, oh, Kathy Paul's my best friend.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
I think is a testament to just how she treated everybody.
Yeah.
Like Kathy Paul's my best friend, whatever. I mean, that's so sweet, and
It
that
is.
is how she treats everyone.
yeah.
And so it was really a lot of years of just, it was so painful, me trying to get over it, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
And so mad, and it just took a long time to get over me being mad, which really held me back.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, it's just the support group that I've had, and even though I know it wasn't easy for you guys, I would not be here. And
I agree with that, and I think that everybody has a process and what they need to go through. And I felt like, in your heart, you felt abandoned, in a way, that it's your mom. I
Yeah.
don't know how I would be, had my dad not died as my mom. I don't know. I mean, and I don't wish it either way. I love my parents, but I think of my niece and nephew, who their mom died when they were 2, and what that was going to be like with her growing up. Like, who's going to talk to you about when your body starts changing? That would be an awkward conversation to have with your dad. I'm not saying it can't happen, because there
are people, right?
They do great jobs. Don't get me wrong.
And there are people that I did not have that relationship with my dad, so that would have not happened with us.
Right.
The relationship that we formed after my mother died was great, and I'm really, 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 really thankful for that. You know, but it wasn't like that before my mom died. I mean, he was my dad. He was around. He was there. But he was.
He worked,
played golf. He was always a good dad. My mom loved him so much. I mean, but it just wasn't. He wasn't like my buddy.
Yeah. She was.
She was.
She was like your best friend.
Oh yeah, she was best friend.
Yeah.
My mom, she was great.
And they all talked on the phone several times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a gift now.
Yeah.
Back then, you're probably like, oh, she's calling.
Oh yeah.
But now it's a gift because you did do those things. You did. Y'all had a very. Y'all could talk about anything, and that's good. I think. She
was a good talker.
Oh, yeah.
She was a great talker, and she did love to talk, and it was when cell phones were just coming out, so she would be sitting on that phone. That was another thing with my dad. He would be sitting there watching TV in his chair, and she would sit on that phone all night. Whoever would listen. She'd probably call you. I mean, all my friends, if they, call, cousins. I mean, she liked to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
She loved visiting with people. She always knew everything about everybody, all what was going on.
I see that in you.
I really like that. I do. I love.
You were telling a story this weekend, and I was like, "That's so Kathy Paul," it's awesome.
Yeah, I love knowing about people. I'm an interrogator.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's and I think people like to feel heard. You know, like, oh, she's listening to my story. And you know how some people, you start telling a story and they go, but wait, did you do that? Or you really should. It's like, some people just want to be heard, and I think you're good at that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Good.
You still tell me what to do, but that's okay.
Not what I like telling
When you've been friends for 40-something years, you kind of just do that.
40-something years, that's nuts.
Even though we're only 30.
Yeah. We met in the womb.
Yeah. That would have put me on mom at about 10.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, so, and just speaking of me and the anger and I was just so mad for so long. And it's really kind of hard to understand, because I feel like I don't want people to feel sorry for me and think, oh, did she waste her life being mad? Because sometimes I do feel that way, but I also know that I was having a lot of fun. I had so many great people in my life, even though I was always mad or whatever. But I do feel like I've had a pretty nice life, even though I had, that really horrible thing happen to me.
And I think some of that is a testament to her, because you were like, okay, my mom would probably want me to be happy about be doing all these fun things, and you've had lots of travel, and you have a great husband.
I do.
But he didn't get to know your mom, unfortunately.
So those are the things is what really still causes me a lot of pain.
Him. Yeah.
Is, she's never met my husband. He didn't get to know her. She never got to meet Ricky's wife, Paige.
Oh yeah.
And
barely got to know Darby.
She got to hold Darby.
Yeah.
And that is something that really pains me so much, is that, everybody's like, oh, you can talk about your mom. We can all talk until we're blue in the face.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know, and Darby's a sweet, loving girl and everything, but and I'm sure she would say
she would have spoiled her rotten for sure.
But it's just the feelings aren't there like we all have. And so that's the part about also, my mom and I would have these conversations like, oh, we're going to, I'm going to have kids, Ricky's going to have kids, and we're going to meet our in-laws and merge everybody together and have all this, great fun, which probably, is a lot of hope that a lot of people don't even have anyway. But, we wanted to have all that here. And so that was another reason why I'm just so thinking that it was just so unfair.
Yeah.
You know, and especially like I said, like, you know, her losing her parents so young, even though she was brought up in a lot of love, she had, I know, things in her heart that she wanted for herself and for me and my brother, and she didn't get that.
No,
So
she didn't.
But she got, you know, 2 really great kids.
Especially the daughter.
Yeah.
The son,
My brother.
just kidding.
We
love
all
him.
know he's the favorite, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. The petting.
yes.
We would sit in the living room, and she would just sit there and, oh, isn't he so cute? We're like, yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah, he's great. So, thank goodness.
He is great.
Yeah.
It's funny now.
Oh, it's so
Then
funny.
it was like,
Right. And it's like,
but she loved her son, so that's really all that mattered. But she did pet him a lot.
yes, the petting.
And we laughed about it.
Yes.